Welcome to Feminized. It's time for a show that turns the spotlight on the powerful women shaping cannabis culture. The cannabis industry is on fire and women are sparking it up. If you like the show, please subscribe. You can also subscribe to the Feminized podcast with Liz Grow on YouTube and Instagram. The future is feminized.
Hey sis.
You're now listening to the Feminized podcast.
Hey y'all, I'm so excited to be here at MJ Unpacked with Amy Deneson, the co-founder of the Cannabis Media Council. And she's busy, y'all, deprogramming the war on drugs. So I'm thrilled that you could take the time to sit with me today and chat about what you're up to.
Liz, thanks for having me. I'm glad to be here.
So let's start at the beginning, Amy. We're here in New York. It's MJ Unpacked. I've seen things about the Cannabis Media Council ever since we landed yesterday. I've seen the I'm High Right Now hat. I've heard conversations about Cannabis Media Council work. I mean, you guys are doing big things. Tell me where you got your start. How did you get here? And how did you come to be the co-founder of the Cannabis Media Council?
Thanks so much. And I'm so glad to hear that the word is out. I'm glad to hear that you are high right now.
Yes.
That NYC is high right now.
Yes.
That is the entire point of the Cannabis Media Council, is to start to spark conversations that helps to deprogram the war on plants and people. There's been a lot of misinformation that has been shared about this plant. And so one thought with the Cannabis Media Council is let's counter all this propaganda with some pro-media. And so the Cannabis Media Council came together with dual purpose, which is one, to put out pro-cannabis advertising on a national level that helps people reconsider this plant and get to know it anew, but also do so through mainstream media channels. And so part of deprogramming is ending the mainstream media moratorium on cannabis advertising and also encouraging people of how to think about this plant from a creative and an enjoyable perspective, but then also reconsider some of the ways that they're censoring messages that their audiences are already ready for.
Right. Oh, I love hearing that. One thing that you said was particularly, I think, relevant for us being, cannabis media creators in understanding all too well there's just the vicious censorship that is happening in the war that's being waged against the cannabis message, the cannabis as a healing plant message. It feels like we're constantly getting shut down as marketers. What's the Cannabis Media Council doing to kind of help open the doors and get the message out there with the major networks and other platforms that seem to be, anti-cannabis?
Yes, it's a great question. And marketing is so constrained right now in cannabis, not only because of censorship, but also, quite honestly, because of underfunding. There's a lot of expenses that it takes to get cannabis products to market. And by the time they actually get to market, the majority of cannabis marketing budgets are under 5% of their annual spend.
Wow.
Which if you compare that to a CPG or a retail environment, the marketing budgets are all north of 10 to 15, sometimes upwards of 25% of the annual spend. And so it's a challenging thing for marketers on both fronts. And so the Cannabis Media Council is really a trade organization that is hoping to be the tide that lifts all boats. And with that, marketers, we have over 200 members at this point from when we launched the council that have raised their hand to say, we recognize that there's only so far we can go alone as a brand. And so we need there to be a halo effect. And so the Cannabis Media Council strives to be that halo effect. And so for the first campaign, I'm High Right Now, we focused and uplifted multiple stories of our elders, specifically looking at how the baby boomer population and above engages with cannabis to enjoy their life. So we have lovebirds that are sliding back into their old ways.
Hey, we know what that means.
We've got a divorcee who's getting back into the garden. We've got a dad who is getting his golfing in and walking all 18 holes. And then we also have someone who's, sunset strolls have never been brighter. And so she's out enjoying her life. And so the I'm High Right Now is really meant to extend the idea of what it means to be high. Yes. And in some respects, yes, let's all get elevated, let's have a good time. But also it can be, a wonderfully exhilarating feeling to get back into hobbies or activities that you enjoy. And that's also a definition of being high. And so with these stories and with this, thank you.
Of course.
We got to take care of each other.
That's right.
Is with this campaign is partnering with a partner such as Hearst Media. And Hearst Media is a huge media empire.
Wow, that's incredible.
Exactly. And so we launched the campaign in January of this year with Connecticut Post, so Hearst newspapers, because Connecticut had recently legalized. They were, starting to think about this plan. Yes, as a medical product, which is super important, and we need to maintain the medical program. But then also, we had now adults thinking about products that were new to their market. And so when we ran it through the Hearst newspapers, specifically targeting people that were over the age of 55, and over the course of a couple of months, you had over 2 million impressions. And when people came to read the article, had a dwell time of over 3 minutes, which is just incredible in terms of, internet engagement.
Right.
And so we're really happy to see that the messaging is resonating, and a partner that's mainstream and already beloved by people who see it as a trusted resource are engaging with it and learning about this plant anew. So it's so rewarding to be part of driving these amplified conversations.
Oh, I bet it's just so satisfying to see a piece about cannabis in, such, foundational, I think, channels such as a Hearst property. I'm sure I'm not using the right word, but, to see it in a newspaper or a billboard, or, not internet marketing where we can kind of get around, loopholes and try to find ways and spend more money to get our message in front of, a targeted audience. What you guys are doing is trying to get this message in front of those people who aren't reaching out, or who aren't seeking out information for cannabis, and who are just maybe living their lives. So I respect that so much. I mean, talk about a difficult audience to get in front of. 55-year-olds who are just kind of like, cannabis, that's not for me.
Or they've been the most stigmatized, the most misinformed. And so the goal, and right now we're so excited to share that next issue will be in Vanity Fair. And so, Vanity Fair.
Like, these were real publications.
Yes.
How did you do that? Talk to me about that. Vanity Fair.
It's so
spread, or tell me about it.
Yes. There's 3 things to really think about when engaging with a publisher as they're starting to consider the category. Is one, how can you work with their legal team to reassure any type of conflict that they may have with licensing or federal distribution, and make sure that they're within the states and territories that welcome this kind of advertising. So first and foremost, how do you work within the systems? Secondly is, how do you talk about community expectations and guidelines and reassure them, or help understand why this is a message that will be well received. It's not offensive. That we're seeing a vast majority of people skew to being open to cannabis as an alternative, especially to other drugs like opioids, or else looking for other wellness products for their life that are skew more holistic. And then looking at third, publishers oftentimes, because they're not cannabis industry experts, don't know who's a verified brand or who's a verified company to work with versus someone who may be opportunistic. And so the council can really serve to say, look, these are, over 200 people and more, or we can give you good indications on that they are doing their absolute best to be on the right side of the law and history, and they're verified, vetted, fantastic brands that would sit next to your other advertising clients with joy, and with panache, and they're ready for it. And so really it's about this reassuring, but then also letting them know that behind this pro bono or this low bono, because the council is a nonprofit, that there are dozens, hundreds of cannabis brand advertisers that are excited to explore new channels to market.
Yes.
And so how do we open the door so that more advertisers, as this industry matures and grows, have a place to actually put their fantastic creative to sell their products? And so really it comes down to asking and continuing to evolve and be a great resource to our publisher partners.
That's incredible. That's so you're doing, you're servicing both ends. You're servicing your publisher partners because they certainly need new advertising revenues. I mean, who doesn't? And also, I mean, you want to stay relevant, but then how to do that with a federally illegal product and oh God. So you're really helping them to choose the right partners. And then when it comes to the brands, you're helping them to present in the best light so that they can sit beside the Coca-Colas and the Teslas and the Rolexes, you know, the brands. Of course, I'm just thinking luxury brand because cannabis is all luxury. But, you know, you get it. I love that. I love that so much. And it's just such a huge service to the industry. We had a brief chat before camera started rolling, and you shared that you were from Iowa. Yeah. So because I'd love to know quickly, I know we could probably talk all day about your story, but I would love to know how you even got to be here as the co-founder of Cannabis Media Council, coming from Iowa.
Yes. Born and raised in the heartland. Yes, Iowa. Then, you know, I had teenage years in Wisconsin, school in Minneapolis, Minnesota, like absolute heartland kid here. But I moved to New York in my 20s and, you know, was attracted to, you know, to making my own way and becoming in a way that New York promises. I did not think I'd still be here 20 years later.
You made it. You made it. If you can make it anywhere, you can make it anywhere.
I mean, that's the thrill. But really what brought me to cannabis is, of course, I love the plant. It's always been a favorite. But I was galvanized when I came face to face with a health crisis, someone who is terminally ill in their final months. Cannabis was the only thing that really kept them comfortable and lucid. And in that moment of then procuring cannabis as a medicine, as opposed to, you know, just, you know, something for fun or to get elevated.
Yeah.
But shifted my perspective because I was now also concerned that this person had a compromised immune system. And so I was hoping, you know, that the cannabis I was sourcing was going to be okay. And then also realized that in the sourcing of it, in yet an unlegalized state, that I was in a territory that was, yes, risky for me, but nowhere near as like devastating as it could be for, you know, one of my Black or brown friends. So the whole like thing, the whole experience galvanized me to say, I want to be part of changing this experience and this narrative entirely. And so in thinking about, you know, how do we legalize this plant as medicine? How do we think about responsible use and rolling that out for adults? How do we get people out of jail and also pay reparations for the generations of harm? And then like, how do we start to have nuanced conversations around what this plant could possibly be? And that, of course, comes with descheduling from the Controlled Substance Act, and so that we can actually research and have clinical understanding of this plant and its properties. And so while I was attracted to the edge, you know, burgeoning, growing industry that cannabis is, it's thrilling and exciting, and much of my career has been in marketing for new ideas and new industries. Cannabis for me, I'm a lifer in it, like and I can't wait to see like what we grow and what we become in the coming years.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you for giving your power and your love and your skill and all of your talents to this plant. Thank you. Thank you. The work that you're doing will be felt across the country, across the globe. I have no doubt about that. And know that Grow House Media is, I mean, we're in your service. You let us know how we can help the Cannabis Media Council, and we will be there. Because again, what you're doing it the right way, right? You're doing it quietly with the right folks at the table, and then you're going to make a huge splash. I mean, in Vanity Fair, for crying out loud. What else is coming up? Any other exciting ad campaigns?
First, thank you for your support so much, and thank you for doing the hard work. I mean, Texas, we've got a lot of road to cover there, but the people are ready for it, and so we'll continue to help uplift and advocate for patients and also new forms of wellness with you. And so, thank you so much. The new things are coming is back to an earlier point you were saying is how can we be a good resource to both publishers and advertisers? And so in May, so next month, we will be releasing guidelines for advertisers and publishers. So how, similar in the vein of Discus for spirits and the IAB for digital advertising in the early days, offering as a self-guided, self-regulatory practice recommendations for advertisers and publishers as they become more comfortable with putting out paid media in this sector. And so we'll be releasing it, sharing some great case studies of brands and publishers who are doing it well. And as the key, broadest takeaway from these guidelines is that as cannabis brands, businesses, operators, you can advertise. And this is something that, I hear still daily, that they're like, well, we can't advertise, so we have to do this. And I'm like, that in itself is a myth. More and more publishers and platforms are coming online to welcome the cannabis sector. And it's our time to show up in the creativity and in the abundance and in the beauty and in the sincerity that this industry offers.
Oh, God. Couldn't have said it better myself. Absolutely couldn't have, because you are the marketing guru. No, but truly, though, thank you for that playbook. Thank you for providing that playbook for brands and advertisers. And I can't wait to take a look at it and certainly promote it on our own channels, because in Texas, we have a number of folks who are really excited about the cannabis industry. They've dipped their toe in the water with hemp and hemp products, but certainly have no clue, I think, how to get the word out. And I've heard that a lot, that no, we can't advertise because it's federally illegal. It's like, well, first, it's a hemp product, so it's federally legal. And second of all, that's not the case. We just need to have guidelines in place to do it in a way that you feel confident moving forward with your advertising, I think. So, so any plans for MJ Unpacked? What are you most excited about?
I mean, this conversation I'm the most excited about. And I love welcoming people to New York. We just celebrated our first entirely legal 420, which absolutely hits different. And so excited that people are starting to experience the New York culture and the scene, the vibe, some of our incredible products that we brought to market. And so New York cannabis is fantastic. It's thriving, and we're excited to be part of the global leadership of this industry.
Awesome. Well, we're excited to be part of it for this small slice during MJ Unpacked. And I'm grateful for your time, Amy, grateful for your work. And let's do this again. Let's revisit after the guidelines are out. Let's talk about them.
Perfect. Okay. I'll see you soon then.
Awesome. All right. Thanks, you guys. Yeah, hug. All right. Oh.
If you'd like more, subscribe to the Feminized podcast on YouTube. Follow at Feminized with Liz Grow on Instagram. Special thanks to our sponsors Moose Labs and Richard's Rainwater. The Feminized podcast is a Grow House Media production, created by Liz Grow, produced by Patrick Pope and Dennis Rowe, with original theme music and audio mixing by Q at Q to King Productions in New Braunfels, Texas.